Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you back to the fourth session of Nature's Healing Remedies, your pathway to health and wholeness. I'm anxious to hear more about the healing herbs and the healing foods. What about you? So without further ado, we're going to have our prayer by Dr. Simmons.
Let us pray together. Father in heaven, we are thankful for the opportunity again on this Sunday morning to gather via Zoom to listen to this wonderful information, which is designed to help us live healthy and to experience wellness. We thank you for this knowledge and for the information that is being shared. And we pray for our presenter in a special way. We want to pray for the Zoom connections and for the strength of the internet and all of the technology and technicians who are working to make this presentation a success this morning. Grace us with your presence and grace us with your power and wisdom, O Lord and Savior. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. And now it's quiz time. First of all, let me say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And whatever you choose to do today, enjoy your day and stay safe. Now, today we will be doing the quiz from session 4. And at the end, do not forget to place your scores on your score sheet. So now we can get started. Question number 1. And of course, do not forget to answer just simply true or false. The whole plant offers more of nature's safeguards and is safer and gentler than its isolated compounds found in many pharmaceutical drugs. That is true. Number 2, an individual must soak in a bath of herbs for a minimum of 20 minutes to hydrate the skin before they can begin to absorb the medicinal qualities of the bath. That is false. Number 3, decoctions are made by simmering leaves and flowers for 10 to 15 minutes before straining this herbal preparation. That is false. Number 4, syrups are a pleasant way to prescribe herbal medicines for children as they are sweet and easy to take. That is true. For acute conditions like the flu, herbal preparations are usually taken 5 times a day or every 2 hours. That is true. Number 6, essential oils should always be diluted before application to the skin. That is true. Number 7, salves serve as a carrier for medicinal plants components which promote healing by penetrating the skin. That is true. Number 8, raw honey is an effective topical treatment for treating cuts, leg and skin ulcers, abrasions, gangrene, dandruff, and diabetic ulceration of the foot. That is true. Number 9, flaxseed can improve mood disorders, lower blood pressure, fight against breast and prostate cancer, reduce hot flashes, and lower cholesterol levels. That is true. Number 10, ginger is not effective against morning sickness, painful menstruation, and heavy menstrual bleeding. That is false. Number 11, garlic positively impacts on the respiratory, digestive, immune, and cardiovascular systems of the body. That is true. Number 12, thyme is effective as an antiseptic gargle for inflamed gums and throats and as a topical wash for wounds and bites. That is true. Number 13, Nettles are good for common respiratory issues like bronchitis, asthma, mucus conditions of the lungs, and chronic coughs. That is true. And number 14, charcoal is not effective against toxins such as lead, DDT, strychnine, camphor, alcohol, hemlock, malathion, nicotine, mercury, phosphorus, iron, silver, and potassium permanganate. That is false. Number 15, lavender essential oil when mixed with an equal part of tea tree essential oil is said to rapidly reduce blemishes. That is true. And number 16, essential oils capture a plant's therapeutic properties and have an herbal effect similar to the original plant, but are up to 60 times more concentrated. That is false. Number 17, herbal powders are used to relieve skin rash, diaper rash, and fungal infections of the skin. That is true. And number 18, a body rub with the addition of aromatic herbs such as basil, rosemary, lavender, thyme, and wintergreen can be effective in decreasing muscle spasms in the chest, bronchial cough, back, skeletal muscle pains, and stomach colic or constipation. That is true. And that concludes our quiz for today. Thank you very much.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Good morning, Dr. Gibbons.
Good morning.
Yes, great. Last week's seminar was quite awesome, Dr. Gibbons. You talked about health risks linked to animal products, and we had many questions generated through it. Number one question was, I thought vitamin D taken early along with other vitamins help to fight COVID. Is this true?
Actually, yes, we talked about that before. If you go back to the presentation we did on specifically on COVID, we talked about vitamin D, vitamin C, quercetin, a whole slew of things.
Wonderful. That's right. Number two, questions asks, should we eat fruit without seeds?
A lot of people talk about that, when you read the book of Genesis and talks about the fruit with this, the seed in it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be so concerned if I had something that didn't have it in it. If you could find the fruit with the seed, fine. But I'm not going to say you're not going to get health benefits if you eat something that doesn't have it in it. But okay.
Wonderful, yes. Number three, if someone is recovering from COVID and dealing with respiratory issues, what do you suggest that they take?
Well, all of the things we talked about already, vitamin D, vitamin C. The whole idea, I would just recall what we had talked about earlier about fermentations, but you're not familiar with how to do that. Is actually the moist, hot to the whole chest area, and then the cool. So you have a hot and cool contrast. Has a way of enhancing your immune system.
Yes, absolutely.
And, so we want to help the body fight for you. And if you're having respiratory issues, that's where you're looking at, and the heat may be helpful. But, the vitamin C, the amounts we talked about, all the lifestyle suggestions we share with relative to prevention and ongoing for COVID-19. So take a look at those things.
Great, yes. There were studies done. They talked about studies of last week related to the animal products. I believe that's what it was. But someone asked, what are the sizes of these studies?
I was thinking they were referring to the studies that we did that were done on ivermectin and,
yes, okay.
and COVID. Let me just highlight 3 of the studies were prophylactic. So these are what you would call, you take it before you get any symptoms. They were randomized controlled trials with more than 100 individuals. There was a large benefit, all statistically significant. There were 3 outpatient randomized controlled trials that were also greater than 100 participants. And the benefits were exceptionally well. Also, 4 hospital patient studies, randomized control with over 100. Further, the total number of patients within controlled trials now includes more than 6,500 patients, and with over 2,500 in randomized control. So the question of numbers is that's not an issue. More than enough individuals, and the results are very, very exceptionally well results. So it's a good thing.
Great, yes. Okay, number 5 says, I think we have reached the point where we are responsible for our own health. Why would they promote a pill that only costs less than $2?
I'm not sure what you're asking, but I think they're referring to ivermectin.
Yeah.
Why would we promote something that costs less than $2? I mean, $2. Well, if it's really effective, why not? That's my thoughts. Now, what we know is there are other positive reasons why. A meta-analysis, and this is an analysis that takes into account a number of studies, and this is actually overcomes some of the issues associated with just going with one study, right? Because there could be potential weaknesses, but when you combine a number of studies together in your analysis, you help to overcome the weaknesses of just using one. And this is just a summary. Meta-analysis, actually from several different sources, find an absolute resolution in mortality between 68 and 91%. And that means risk of dying was decreased from 68 to 91%. And that's for something that costs less than $2. I think that's a good thing.
That's excellent.
10 to 13 randomized controlled trials found statistically significant reduction in time to viral clearance. So let's say you took the PCR test and, they say, wait until 14 days before you can, safety. Actually, what some of the studies show that taking ivermectin actually cleared viral clearance in about 5 to 7 days. So less time.
Amazing.
The risk of contracting COVID was reduced 92.5%.
Wow.
Based on 7 control studies over 2,600 individuals. Superior to many vaccines in terms of that actual prevention. So these are reasons that it may be something worth taking if you can take.
That's right.
So it's a good thing.
It is, doctor. Okay, number 6. I'm not really sure about this question, but it says, isn't the increase in Brazil related to the variant? referring to COVID, I believe. Yes, it is. And that's the question.
That's part of the reason, and there could be other reasons also. We do know that there are a number of countries where they use ivermectin, and it's been helpful against the variant, the South African variant and a few others.
That's right. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what variant they have, it seems to show some promising effects. And if something is effective, not that expensive, very low risk profile, why not put it in the mix?
That's right. Yes, absolutely. Okay, this is the final question. Dr. Gibbons mentioned that because of man's wickedness and what they are doing to animals, it is best to go on a plant-based diet. They ask, what if you are unable to plant your own vegetables and fruits? What can you do in these circumstances?
Well, you take what you can find in the store, and believe it or not, a number of the larger studies that looked at the benefits of fruits and vegetables, they were not organic. These were from the grocery store. So even if you have not planted the vegetables yourself, God in his wisdom has put enough in these plants that even what you buy in the store does some exceptional benefits.
Amen.
Remember that we do not absorb all the nutrients that are in plants. Our bodies absorb just what we need. And if it only needs a certain amount, even if it's deficient, then it would less than in an organic food, you could still have more than enough that your body actually needs. So just eat the plants that are in the stores.
Absolutely.
And, you'll be fine.
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Gibbons. That concludes our question time.
All right.
Greetings, everyone. Our presenter today is Dr. Leonard Gibbons. He's a graduate of Loma Linda University, where he completed both his Master of Public Health and his Doctor of Public Health degrees. Dr. Gibbons also attended Oakwood University. Additionally, he completed programs with the Australian College of Phytotherapy, Banning School of Massage, and UG Pines Institute. Formerly the Wellness Coordinator of the Bermuda Hospitals Board and the Health Promotions Coordinator for the Bermuda Government Department of Health, Dr. Gibbons is currently the Health Ministries Director for the Bermuda Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. And he works at Bermuda Wellness and Outreach Center as a lifestyle intervention specialist. Dr. Gibbons focuses on lifestyle medicine while working with patients and clients in conjunction with their primary care physicians. Dr. Gibbons is known for providing wellness education and lifestyle change programs for churches, businesses, several organizations, and the general public, always using his expertise in public health nutrition, in dietetics, herbal medicine, alcohol and drug counseling, massage therapy, hydrotherapy, public speaking, and lifestyle medicine, including God's natural remedies, all as a framework for health and healing. Dr. Gibbons is married to yours truly, Dr. Rosamond Williams Gibbons, a career teacher-educator working in the Bermuda government school system. She too holds a graduate degree in global international public health from Loma Linda University. That's in California in the United States. The Gibbonses, we are blessed with 2 children, now young adults, pursuing their careers of choice, after having accompanied their parents during many years of community work, volunteer work that is. Online students, listeners everywhere, without further ado, I present to you a committed healthcare provider, lifestyle intervention specialist, and my husband, Dr. Leonard L. Gibbons.
Okay, good morning, everyone. And happy Mother's Day to all your mothers out there. And today we're going to talk about this whole question of herbal medicine. What are herbs? And you can see a picture here of a whole array of different herbs, and not everything is what we would call an herb per se, but certain foods that have really some amazing benefits that are beyond what most common foods have. So we're going to take a look at that, and we're going to take a look into herbal medicine, some parts that many of you are perhaps not familiar with, but we're going to illustrate some amazing healing properties within the plant kingdom. And of course, there are 4 steps to this whole process of reversing the disease using nature's remedy. And I'm just going to go over that very briefly so we can see where the herbal medicines fit in this wider piece. So first, of course, we determine the cause. We've talked about that. And fundamentally, our lifestyle factors, our lack of exercise, our coping with stress, our, how we look at life or overwork. So the real underlying factors are lifestyle. And of course, we need to change the condition. And if we understand what the condition is teaching us, then we have a better understanding as to what factors those underlying causes are most applicable to that particular health problems. And we use COVID-19 as an illustration of that when we talked about the immune system and the various foods or other things that impact on this health condition. Third, of course, is correct the wrong habits. What are those habits that we need to correct? And the fourth is where we put herbal medicines, assist nature to expel impurities, reestablish wellness. Hydrotherapy, we're gonna talk about that at another time. Herbs and a little supplements, we actually talked about some of that as it relates to COVID-19. We're not going to talk about fasting, and we may say a little bit about cleansing programs, and we'll talk about you get information on medicinal smoothies, and we'll get to that at another time. But today we're going to talk a little bit about herbs and some plants that are truly medicinal in their application. First of all, plants have been a source of medicine since the fall of mankind in the Garden of Eden. And you see this in Genesis 3, verse 18. After the fall, God said, "And ye shall eat the herb of the field." And now it's important to note that the herb of the field was not a part of the diet of mankind before sin. So this illustrates an addition of something that wasn't a part of the plan before. And we've talked about the green herbs somewhat before. And one of those factors is they help to boost your natural killer cells. These are part of your immune system. So in this sin-cursed state of mankind, God gave man the permission to eat the green herbs that would provide extra healing. And we're going to talk about a couple of those green herbs today. Now, in Revelation chapter 22, verse 2, it even alludes to that in the new heavens, and the leaves of the trees are for the healing of the nations. And there are those who believe that this is referring to us actually growing up to the height we were before the fall. When we are redeemed, we all are the height we were before when we passed on, and we will grow up to the height, and it's estimated that Adam and Eve were quite tall compared to us today. Now, from the pen of Ellen G. White, we see this. There are simple herbs and roots that every family may use for themselves and need not call a physician any sooner than they would call a lawyer. Now, this is an interesting statement. When I look back at myself and I said, when have I needed the services of a lawyer? And I remember some time back, a couple of me and my brothers were considering buying this property at some point in time. And this was a time when we needed a lawyer, but I don't recall, needing a lawyer other than that. And it seems to suggest this statement. If we understand the principles of health and the natural remedies and even the simple herbs, that they can bring a level of healing, that our need for a physician would be greatly decreased. So that's the power of the simple herbs, the things that grow around us. And it's interesting that many of us spend a lot of money for pharmaceutical drugs with side effects, when perhaps the remedy is growing around us. It's out in the trees or in the byways, the highways. We could actually plant it ourselves. So I just want to encourage you to explore, the healing power of plants. This is just an introduction, and maybe soon we can have a class where we actually go into more details in these simple herbs and how we can actually make them ourselves or actually make them. So many modern pharmaceutical medicines are based on plant-derived substances. And this is important to realize. A lot of what we choose, what are used in medicine actually came from plants. So it's not a stretch to consider using the whole plant, because this is where a number of the medications are derived. Now, pharmaceuticals are isolated phytochemicals, or they are manufactured synthetically. And sometimes they are actually copied from nature. The willow bark is an example of that. And it's where we first used aspirin. The plant, the willow bark, has these compounds in them. Now it is made synthetically. And in fact, taking it from the herb, the willow bark, is less of a health issue than taking it through the isolated manufactured pharmaceutical. Now, side effects are almost always experienced in pharmaceutical medications, and that is because the chief chemical components are missing, in addition to many what we call secondary plant chemicals, which support the compound or buffet its toxic side effects or enhance the body's ability to properly utilize the herb. Now, for example, ginger has lots of compounds in it, hundreds of compounds. So a pharmaceutical would take one of those chemicals from the plant. And in nature, there are many other compounds in the whole plant, and they help to balance out any potential negative implications of taking a particular pharmaceutical. And that's why it's important to take the whole plant. And you may ask the question, well, if the whole is better than the one chemical, why not, promote that? Why would it be that the pharmaceutical companies would have just one isolated chemical? Well, one of the reasons for that is that you cannot patent natural plants. So the pharmaceutical company would have to extract out some one chemical, modify it so that they can patent it, and then if they can patent it, that they could make money from that. And that comes with some risk. There are definitely some times where a pharmaceutical extract has some life-saving properties. Certain people could have a reaction where the throat could, just, the whole breathing apparatus could be compromised because of a strong allergic reaction where someone could not breathe and they would die if we couldn't use something powerful that can open up those breathing passages. And there are pharmaceutical drugs that had that impact where they can open up immediately something to prevent someone from dying. Of course, even in the case of individuals who are getting surgery and other things like that, there are powerful compounds that will enable us to put someone to sleep who could not handle the type of surgery if they were awake. So there are places for pharmaceutical compounds, but the danger is when they are utilized in areas where there are more natural and better whole plant sources, and when the best option for them is very short term to deal with an acute issue. And when we are using them for long-term applications, these chemicals have a way of taking over and creating more problems than providing solutions. So there is a place, but when we look at chronic long-term conditions, many times the whole plant extract, it would be a better option. So let's look at different types of herbal preparations. Now, one is a bath. A person must soak in a bath for a minimum of 15 minutes, and that was one of our questions, and we gave more time. So what this is, hydrates the skin. It makes it easier for the medicinal herbs to be absorbed in the bath. Some herbs do not taste very well, and kids don't like them, don't want to taste it. Of course, we can use another preparation we talked about, a syrup, or make it taste nicer. But you can take the herbs and you can just put it in the tub. And an individual can soak in the herbs, and absorption can take place through the skin. So one could essentially put the the herbs. They could be on the stove. For those that need boiling, they can be boiled. And for those that need steeping, like the leaves and the flowers, they don't need that constant boiling. They can be put in the bath, a hot bath, and someone could soak in that bath 40 minutes, whatever, beyond 15 minutes, and they can absorb the medicinal qualities of those plants through the skin. So God has made us amazingly so that this could be one of the factors. And a compound, or something we call charcoal, Also could work like that. It absorbs toxins, pulls them out from the skin into the charcoal itself. So that's an amazing thing. So people could actually soak in a bath and, put in, a quarter cup of activated charcoal, not the charcoal you use for barbecuing that has chemicals and other things in it, but a charcoal that you would get from the pharmacy. Or in fact, even if you've been camping and where people would burn the wood, and sometimes you see left over this charcoal, this burnt black, dark, and that could be smashed. It is charcoal. It's not what we call activated charcoal, which opens up more pores for adsorption, where toxins and poisons are actually attached to this charcoal. This is amazing that even burning wood, the end result of it is good for us. It can be taken internally. It can be added to a bath. So this is one way of getting the medicinal qualities of plants into our body. So that could be anywhere from, having problems with sleeping, you name it. Putting it, the herb in the tub can be helpful for us. As you can see, colds, fever, flu, insomnia, muscle injury. Even bathing the hands or feet can be used to treat young persons who do not want to drink medicine. So remember, your hands, your feet are avenues for absorption. So you can just put your hands and feet and still get some absorption of medicinal plants this way. Rubs. This is another way of herbal preparations. And you have the oils. It can be used for bronchial coughs, back and muscle pain, colic, constipation, so respiratory issues. Individuals were asked a question about that. And let's talk a little bit more about it. So, the aromatic herbs are herbs that have this strong smell of basil, rosemary, lavender, and thyme. Those are often used. These medicinal properties of the aromatic herbs are infused into what we call carrier or oils. So infusion is a way of getting it. And if you see the photo in this, you see the different colors, and colors are related to the type of the herb itself. Herbs that are, of course, some that are more of it all depends on the color of the herb. And so that goes a step farther. Now, so here you have herbal oils and creams, ointments, and salve. And the photo is a photo of what we call a salve. And I'll talk a little bit about how that is made. But you see the example of the flowers there. Now, this could be used for skin rashes and cuts and wounds and burns and boils and sprains and many other health conditions by absorbing the medicines directly through the skin. We generally think of using, most of us, Vaseline, intensive care, and other these lotions, and many of them are petroleum-based. So that's in the oil. These are not the best. They can, prevent drying because you're putting this coating or drying of the skin. But it's probably better to use a more natural preparation that we can put on the skin that will also have some medicinal properties from different plants that are utilized in this preparation. I think I'm going to talk a little bit about how to make a salve a little later on. So we'll get to that as an example. But this particular, just by way of introducing, so you have an oil, and a carrier oil could be like olive oil. Okay, and then you infuse that oil with the herbs, and that could be dried flowers or dried leaves, and that are put into a container like let's say you have a double boiler type of situation, where you have a pot on the stove and it's boiling water, and then then you put a pot inside the pot. And in that, you would put the oil, and you would add lots of, let's say, leaves or what have you. And it could be enough to sort of almost fill, stir it up. So it's most of it is like the leaves or the flowers, depending on what herb you're using, is well mixed into that preparation. And then it's left on the double boiler for a while. Or another way of doing that would be to utilize a slow cooker. And so overnight, you would have the oil with all the flowers and all of that mixed in, so that it's enough that it comes, saturates the oil from the top all the way down. And then you leave it at a certain temperature overnight. In the morning, you will see that the oil is taking on the color of the compounds that are, or the pigments that are in the herb. And the smell would tend to take on the medicinal properties. And so then you would strain it and squeeze it all out, like with like a cheesecloth or something like that. So now you have this colored oil. And sometimes you would even see that in top-end stores where they have oils with like basil, or you see a stalk of an herb in the bottle of the oil. And if you smell it, it has the smell of that herb in it. So this is the infused oil. And then what we do to that, we would use something like beeswax as something to thicken it. Now, beeswax, it's a certain proportion, and we'll talk about that later on. It's cut, it could be grated, and you actually put that beeswax in a container with the oil, and then on the stove, you're turning up the heat so that it melts. And once it's melted, you stir it around, and then you pour it in your little containers, like this example here. And it's the proportion of the beeswax to the oil that makes it solidify. So now it can be solid. And then you could just move your hands on it, and then you can wipe that over the area that needs the attention for the rest, the wound, the boil. It could even be for memory. So you can infuse oils that plants that have the ability to enhance our memory or sleep or any number of other things. So this is a neat way to package it, and then it can last. You can even use it for the lip, for a lip balm. The uses are endless. It's just a matter of determining, okay, what are the plants that provide the type of benefit that you need, and those are the plants you will use to create this preparation. So this is an example. Now, the ones most of us are familiar with is capsules and tablets. And they are used because, herbs tend to be very strong, some of them, and you don't like the taste of it. So if you put it in a capsule or something like that, you can take it in quite easily without experiencing the unpleasant taste. So herbs can be blended up into a powder. They can be dried. and then blend it to a powder, and then put it in an encapsulated machine. And there are even ones that people can get that actually make these capsules. The tablets are formed in some type of equipment that compresses all the ingredients. So that gives you a little look at another type of preparation. So we could be up in water. We can use it as a salve, cream, or we can take it in a capsule form. Another is what we call a fermentation or a poultice. And this is an example of a poultice. So we mash up the vegetable matter. We can add a little water or liquid to it. And we can apply it to the skin and wrap it. And what we are attempting to do is the medicinal qualities or properties in the plant are addressing that particular area. Maybe it's pain that people are experiencing, something, or it's swollen. And so what type of herb helps with, addressing pain, or that will help to lessen inflammation in the area? And so absorb those, help to speed up healing right in that area. And so that's a simple way for it can stimulate the immune system. As you can see, you can draw toxins from the body, control pain, rashes, okay, and swelling. So muscles and glands, tonsils, tonsillitis, you name it. So these are preparations that we can use. Another is an infusion. And infusion is typically how many of us do herbal preparations. And you can see in the picture there, you got these dried, looks like leaves. And to the right of it, you see there's a little device, and actually it's got little holes in it. And so we would just scoop up the powder, put it in that, close it, and you would put that in a pot where the water is. You boil the water, and you turn it off, and then you put this little strainer type device there, and this is for the leaves and flowers. So it's about a teaspoon of herb to 1 cup of water. Cover the pot and steep for 3 to 5 minutes. Now, these are leaves and flowers. Now, when it's leaves and flowers, you don't want to be boiling that. You want to put it in water that has first been boiled, turn it off. Because they are very gentle and easy to get the medicinal qualities into the plant, you don't have to vigorously boil it. Now, you could leave it for longer, and it will create a stronger tea. You can leave it for 10 minutes, 15 minutes if you wanted to. You strain it and serve. Okay, so that's infusion method. Now, decoction is for roots and barks. They're much harder, and so you need some more vigorous action to help get those properties into the water. And so that could be a teaspoon and a cup of water, and then you're simmering that for 10 to 15 minutes. All right, so that's your roots and barks of trees, and that's how we would do a decoction. Powder, that's another way. And of course, it can be used for rash, diaper rash, and fungal infections. So flowers like calendula is a very good one for, skin ailments. And I guess you like diaper rash, how we have talcum powders and things for babies. Well, you can actually use a very, powdered flowers of certain dried plants. And that can be a very helpful medicinal type thing for, fungal infections, skin rashes, etc. Steam is another way of doing that. Herbal steams deliver the medicinal qualities to the upper respiratory system. So you've got warmth and decongest the mucous membranes of the nose, sinuses, and throat. So any respiratory type issue, so you can add the aromatic herbs, or you can even use the essential oils where there are drops, and we'll talk about them, added to that, to the water, and then you're breathing that in. And so that helps your whole respiratory. So if you got congestion, someone had talked about respiratory issues after COVID. I don't see any contraindications by using something that has these medicinal qualities. And then we'll cover a few of them as we go along today. Okay, suppositories and animals. Okay, and these can be made, and for example, they can support vaginal health, anal issues such as hemorrhoids. So the preparation is made into this little mold. And of course, it could have beeswax or something like that, where it's solidified, and then it's deposited via the anus or the vagina, and then it's melted, and then the medicinal properties are infused in that area. So this is just giving you an example of the versatility of herbal preparations. They can be internally, externally applied, respiratory system. So these are multiple ways of utilizing plants for healing. Syrups, and this is the pleasant tasting, easy way to prescribe herbal medicines for children, and even adults might prefer a syrup type herbal preparation. Tinctures are alcohol-based herbal extracts. I don't subscribe to alcohol-based extracts or getting alcohol. There are ways of evaporating the alcohol. Of course, if there is something, some heat applied, it can be evaporated. And there are some companies that actually use alcohol to extract, and then they get the extract the alcohol from the product. And so the end product doesn't have any alcohol in it. So there are different ways of doing it to create these herbal preparation. Tinctures tend to absorb certain properties or chemical constituents that are not absorbed that well with the water preparation. And that's one of the reasons why alcohol-based preparations have been used. And there are other ways of doing it. And of course, there are compounds that are where the alcohol is evaporated, so the final preparation doesn't have it in it. Okay, so these are some of the common ways of preparing herbal plants for health and healing. Now, there is a dosage that's important, and most preparations are given for adult dosage, unless they tell you specifically on the preparation if it's for children or not. And this is a formula that can be used. The age in years divided by the age plus 12 equals the portion of adult dosage. And this is an example here, 6-year-old child. And you would see 6 over 6 plus 12, 6 over 18, which is 1/3 of the adult dosage. So that's basically how that formula would be utilized if you see a dosage and they're not telling you anything about children. And of course, it's important to get some advice just to make sure that whatever you're doing is safe for children. And secondly, your own self. If you're taking medications or other things, you want to be sure there's no interaction or what have you. But so get advice from somebody who knows what they're doing. Most doctors are not necessarily, they're not trained per se in the use of herbal medicines, but they do have tools they can look at to look at possible interaction between herbs and drugs and give you advice to do that, or speak to someone who's specialist in use of herbal medicines. Okay, so those are some important things. All right, so how long do we use them? Now, for chronic long-term conditions, 3 times a day, usually with meals for 3 months. Okay, that's sort of what you would consider. Now, most people tend to think you take it like you would take your typical over-the-counter drug, and it's not so. Okay, medicinal properties tend to take a while, take longer. It's from the extract of the whole plant, so most of them can be taken long term without any real concern. Okay. Now, for acute conditions, this fever or this flu, something that comes right on, 5 times a day or every 2 hours. So you need a much concentrated application. So not this one dosage and then you're saying, oh man, this doesn't work. Well, you have to do it more frequently, throughout the day. A much higher dosage initially is what we would do in terms of for therapeutic rationale, and often important to ask somebody who knows what they're doing to help you with that regard. Okay, so 5 times a day or every 2 hours for acute condition, your chest congestion or what have you. You can take some internally. You can put a salve on, so there are different ways. You can sit in a tub with hot water, keep your head cool, and add the herbs to that bath. So you can use a combination of methods to increase the level at which the body absorbs the medicinal qualities of these plants. And some could be even put in a smoothie. And we've done this also to help individuals who have issues with pain and other things. You can take the herbs like thyme, handful worth, throw it in the smoothie with the berries and everything else, and blend it up and drink it down. And you've got those medicinal qualities in the whole plant used that way in like a smoothie. So medicinal smoothies are a way of absorbing these medicinal properties from that whole flower or that whole leaves. Okay, all root in that example, or example of ginger, for example, can be added to a smoothie. Mint could be added to a smoothie, and a number of other herbs could be added. They tend to be very strong, like basil and others, but you don't need a lot of leaves, to add to it. It'll change the flavor of the smoothie, but it can be very potent as a healing properties, and that's a lot quicker. So you can actually grow some medicinal herbs. You follow me? You can have it in pots and other things, and then you can just throw some leaves in your smoothie. And so that's one way of doing, utilizing these herbal oil preparations. Now, another is essential oils. Now, you go to any health food store, you probably see this. Little jars, very strong, most of them in there that smell. And what they do is they capture the plant's therapeutic properties. They are up to 100 times more concentrated than the whole plant. So So they should be used with care, externally and diluted in most cases. Okay, and you see an example there. Looks like you got mint, if I'm not incorrect. And at the bottom, you see rosemary. Okay, rosemary, good for memory. Okay, so you would buy those preparations, and they can be added to your salves, and added to a salve or for rubbing on the skin. They help with not only preservation, actually absorption. So you can have the essential oil drops. In addition, you could have the extract from the whole plant that is in the oil, which I talked about before. And then you have your beeswax or what have you. So it can it can enhance the medicinal properties. It can be helpful in preservation. And so these are a couple of reasons why you can add essential oils. Of course, it can be added to a steam, a few drops in the bottom of a pan, then you can add the hot water to it. And now it's steaming up, and put the towel over your head and breathe it in. And that could be very healing. So they can be their actions, or what we call medicinal properties: antiseptic, antimicrobial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, so microbes and killing germs, expectorant, help you to cough up. You have a dry cough, or this congestion is not being broken up. So you can use these essential oils in this preparation where you're breathing it in with the towel over your head. Muscle relaxants and circulatory stimulant increases circulation. Okay, we know that perfect health depends upon perfect circulation. So these are some of the properties or the actions of essential oils. So the olfactory nerves through your nose, they carry impulses to the brain, especially the limbic center, which governs emotional states. So it can help in terms of emotional stress relief and just calm you down. So that's where this whole idea of breathing in through the nose helps. In fact, there was this interesting study done. They took these city dwellers, workers, Japanese who were, and they assessed their stress level. And then they took them for 30 to 60 minutes out into a forest of of trees, medicinal, trees, pine. It was pine forest. And after 30 minutes, they tested their stress scores, and it was decreased significantly. So there is healing just in the fragrance of the pine, the cedar, the fir, and other trees. So surrounding yourself with green trees that have this aroma has a healing properties. And so this is something you want to take advantage of. And of course, you can capture that or get it captured from these essential oils. All right. So you can take a bath, make this a warm bath because you want the oils to soak in, not sweat out. Add 6 to 12 drops of essential oils to a filled tub and swish the oils around with your hand so it's evenly dispersed. So this is one way of getting the herbal essential oils to get the benefits. And if it's something that enhances sleep, like lavender or something like that, you can add that to the bath before you go to bed, and that can help with calming you down, relaxing, preparation for sleep. okay, a compress. And so this way you have 4 cups of water. You can add 4 to 15 drops of essential oils, mix, then soak a washcloth, a small towel, wring out the excess water and apply to the affected. Warm or hot for arthritis, cramps, muscle pain, and cold for tension, bruises, and headaches. So there's 2 ways of utilizing essential oils and changing the water. Either it's warm or hot or cold, depending on what you're using it for. Okay, so this is some ideas for utilizing essential oils. So let's talk about making a chest rub for coughs and congestion. When this whole COVID situation ends, and surely I hope it ends soon, we're going to be looking at doing some actual hands-on class. And so I think that could be a really, really nice thing where you can, we can actually make it. Some of it we can make, you can see it made, and then you can actually go away with a little canister or salve yourself that you can utilize for your own health needs. So here we go. So this is an example, chest rub for cough, congestion, 20 drops of essential oils. And you give you some examples. Could be thyme, could be peppermint, could be basil, eucalyptus, or a combination of them. You add that to a 1/4 cup of almond oil or olive oil. Now, to create a salve, you add a 1/2 ounce or a tablespoon of beeswax to it. So let's say you have the oil. I think I went through that. Okay, so you melt the beeswax in the oil, right, over the stove, right? You can use a double boiler or something like that, so you don't get that direct heat. You want it too hot. Or very, very simply, you just put one pot in another pot, put the oil in, and you get the beeswax, and put that in there. And then when next you add the drops to the container that you're going to put it in, right? That's one way of doing it. Now, if you're making enough for several containers, you can have something else where you mix it all. So you drop all the oils in there, and then you pour the essential oil with the beeswax melted in it. You close the container, and then you just mix it so that you get that mixture of the essential oil into the the oil with the beeswax. Then you pour that into your storage container. Put the top on, and then just let that solidify. When it's nice and solid, you've got your salve. Okay, you can rub it and use it whenever you need. A couple of years should be fine, and it's not going to go bad on you. And it's a very simple yet effective. Okay, so that's an example of how to make a chest rub. You can use the essential oils in a massage. So it's about 8 to 12 drops of essential oil to 1 ounce. That's 2 tablespoons of massage oil. So that's the proportion for a general full body massage, and 15 to 20 drops and 2 tablespoons of 1 ounce for intensive action to relieve a specific smaller area of discomfort. Okay, so those are two combinations of the oil with the essential oil, so that we can make an effective herbal preparation for pain, or just relaxation, for sleep, insomnia. Just think about it. People have a number of health issues, and you just use the essential oil that will best help to get those medicinal properties through the skin. And then you're getting also the effect of the massage itself, the physical rubbing and massaging. So you're getting multiple ways of intervening and enhancing the body's own healing mechanisms. Let's talk about honey. Now, honey is amazing. And when the first time I discovered all of these properties, I said, man, this is something else. And when you think about it, the bee goes to all these different flowers, right? And he picks up pollen and other components that are in these natural plants. So now they become a part of the honey. And let's take a look at what honey does. Now in the Bible, it says, my son, eat thou honey because it is good, and the honeycomb, which is sweet to taste. So the Bible tells us that it is what? It is good. But it not only tells us it is good, but it tells us something else. Hast thou found honey? Eat so much as it is sufficient for thee, lest thou be filled therewith and vomited. So we want to utilize it, but we don't want to overutilize it. So get it in its rightful balance, and it's helpful for us. So what's the part used? Of course, it's full strength or diluted honey. And the actions, it's antibiotic against all known forms of resistant bacteria. So now resistant bacteria is bacteria, the body or the antibiotics are not working anymore. And one of the reasons why we're ending up with antibiotics that were working before, but they're not working, is because of animal husbandry, what we were talking about before last week. They use a lot of antibiotics, and most antibiotics are used in these animal husbandry to make the animals grow fast, and also because of the cramped, poor health conditions which they are under. And when we use high levels of antibiotics, and bacteria actually figure out a way of getting around it, and then they make these strains that are resistant to these antibiotics. But what we do know is honey is actually works against all forms of resistant bacteria. It stimulates the immune system. It helps as an expectorant. So cough is antiviral, anti-anemic. So it helps to increase hemoglobin levels. It's antifungal, anti-inflammatory, and it can actually help have a tonic-like effect. Okay, so those are some properties. And here are indications. It's tons of them: cuts, skin ulcers, gangrene, diabetic ulcers, fungated wounds, ulcerations, necrosis, bad smells, post-surgical wound infections, first through third degree burns, boils, gingivitis, dental plaque, helicobacter infection of the stomach, and duodenum. So honey is actually good medicine. Tastes nice, and it's also good for us. So think about it. We can have an herbal preparation from an herb that doesn't taste too great, and we can add a little honey to it. So now we have the properties of the honey plus the properties of the herb, and plus it tastes better. So it's an amazing combination that could be good for us. So let's look at some of the research. Okay, prophylactically, exit sites of medical devices to prevent infection. To prevent infection from catheters, insertion, coated with honey before inserting. And so it is actually used in some hospital settings where they would coat the device with honey, and honey will actually help to prevent infection. Amazing, isn't it? Medicinal, wound healing, surgical wounds, burns in the hospital. It's readily effective against resistant bacteria, and 30+ clinical trials have looked at its use. So we're talking about something that really works, and honey is a good thing. For pharmaceutical honey called Medihon honey, they've actually used that in Bermuda. It's utilized in clinicians and BHB Bermuda Hospitals Board actually uses Medihancy. Now it's quite expensive, but it's just regular Manuka honey. This is one of the most expensive, but very effective. But we talk a little bit more about that as we go along. Now, of course, Bermuda has honey. So any wild honey is acceptable. The more types of different flowers that make up the honey, the more potent the honey is potentially. They've gotten properties from a variety. Now for burns, directly apply full strength, cover it with sterile bandage and change once or twice a day. And that's how it is utilized therapeutically. Also rated bed sores, even to the bone, same as for burns. Infected or non-affected wounds, same as for burns. You see this bacterial skin infection in pemphigo. Dilute to use as a wash, then apply twice daily. Seborrhea dermatitis, the same as in pemphigo. Okay, we're gonna give an example of that also. Internally, as a preventative, 1 tablespoon undiluted or in tea 3 times a day. Acute conditions, 1 tablespoon each hour or a tablespoon in the tea 6 to 10 times a day. Best cool and flu tea. This is idea for making something for the flu, for cold. 4 tablespoons of ginger juice, the juice of 1 lime, 1/8 teaspoon or less of cayenne pepper. And optional, you can leave it out, can be kind of strong. Just 1 tablespoon of honey and 2 cups of hot water. Drink 4 to 6 cups a day. Now, how do you make ginger juice? Well, one way is if you have a juicer. And you can put it through the juicer, and this is very, very strong. Now, if you don't have it, okay, wait a minute. Now, if you don't have a juicer, finely grate the ginger root, size of a large carrot, and steep in 2 to 3 cups of boiling water. You boil the water, turn it off, steep it, cover it, steep for 3 hours. I've even taken it and you just blend it up in the water in a blender, and then you can steep that. You can filter off the water, and now you've got your ginger juice. Okay, then you add your other components to that. You blend the ginger in hot water until finely blended. Leave covered 3 hours, strain and add to other ingredients. If too strong, add additional water. Add honey as indicated in previous recipes. So you can just drink it throughout the day, okay? And this may be helpful to, nip it in the bud. So fake versus genuine honey. Manuka honey is from New Zealand. It comes from the flower of this plant. It's a very potent honey, and it tends to be very expensive, okay? Up to 75% of store-bought honey in the US and probably even in Bermuda cannot be considered genuine honey. Many manufacturers remove all pollen from the honey, and sometimes they add corn syrup to the preparation. So most of the types from health food stores are actually, they're tested natural food stores, co-ops, farmers market are the real thing. So good honey always has a little pollen, which makes it appear a little cloudy to the eyes. It also produces a little burning at the back of the throat when consumed. So that's a little bit about choosing honey. Now, this is a study, myositis abscesses. This is a randomized study. They used honey or silk gauze. Honey treated wounds healed faster. Length of time in the hospital was shorter. So you can see that honey was actually more effective than the preparation from the pharmacy. 66 patients with chronic complicated surgical wounds or acute traumatic wounds. Honey was easy to apply, kept the wounds clean, and stopped infection. It was very safe. Another study, 105 people were enrolled. And this is a single center, open label, randomized controlled trial. The honey-treated groups, the wounds healed in 100 days versus 140 days in the standard treatment. This is another study with venous leg ulcers. Intrasite gel was also used with in the other group. The increased incidence of healing, effective slopping, and lower infection rates in the honey-treated group. So we see honey was more effective than intrasite gel. Another study, pressure ulcers, were treated with honey. Another with this diamethylminoadrin. And I'm butchering these words. Honey was more effective than the standard treatment. Another study, only 1 in 20 patients in the honey group developed intolerable oral mucositis, inflammation of the mucus membranes after receiving radiation. A better outcome was experienced than with lidocaine. Diabetic foot wounds were treated with honey for 3 months and complete healing in 43%. Bacterial load in all ulcers was significantly reduced after 7 days, and the honey dressing. The error rate was 6.3%. Several other studies have found similar results. So honey is amazing in its properties. 60 persons with limb-threatening diabetic infections were split into 3 groups. Full thickness ulcers, deep tissue infection with osteomyelitis and gangrenous lesions. And let's see what happened. 100% in group 1 healed, 92% in group 2, and 100% in group 3. After surgical incision, debridement of necrotic or dead tissue, and treatment with honey ointment. This ointment included royal jelly, a honeybee secretion, that is used in the nutrition of larvae as well as for the adult cream. So this was amazing benefit through use of honey. Burns, less than 50% of the body, honey dressing or sulfenadiazine. Average healing time, 18 days in the honey group, 33 days in standard treatment. Wound changes, honey group, sterile and less than 7 days. In the non-honey treated group, none became sterile. Labial herpes, duration of attacks, degree of pain, crusting, healing time with honey, 34, 39, 28, and 43%. Better, respectively, than the standard drug treatment. With genital herpes, the results were 53, 55, 50, rather 49 and 59% better, respectively. This is simply amazing. Dermatitis, dandruff, scaling, itching, hair loss, topical treatment. Now they use 90% honey, 10% water. Okay, made this mixture up every other day for 4 weeks. And they left it on for 3 hours before rinsing with warm water or the control group. So this is something you could try if you have dandruff and these skin related issues. The outcome in all the honey group, itching was relieved, scaling disappeared within 1 week. Can you imagine that? Hair loss was reduced. Within 2 weeks, the lesions healed and disappeared. None of the 15 relapsed at 6 months with 1 application a week prophylactically. So here is a simple home remedy that's good for dandruff and seborrhea dermatitis. Amazing, just honey. 139 children with nighttime coughing due to upper respiratory tract infection. Honey was more effective than the medication to relieve the coughing. Other studies have shown equal effectiveness, but parents generally reported honey to be better than the pharmaceuticals utilized. So, don't discount the power of this honey as a healing modality. I thought this was interesting. These were boys. 58 boys were given 2 tablespoons of honey a day. Half were given 1 tablespoon in the morning and 1 tablespoon in the evening. The other half got no honey. Both groups were similar in terms of diet, exercise, rest, age, general health. After a year, the honey group experienced their hemoglobin level was 80.5% higher than in the other group, and overall increase in vitality, energy, and general appearance just by having honey as a part of their daily intake. So honey is good. Put it in recipes, use it in herbal teas, use it externally. The uses are amazing. Quite a whole, quite a number. Ulcerations to the bone. In one situation, you see here, the size of the human fist and 3rd-degree burns, complete healing has consistently been reported without the need for skin graft and with no infection or muscle loss. This is simply amazing. Something to give a try. Honey has outperformed antibiotics in the treatment of stomach ulcers, gangrene, surgical wound infections, surgical incisions, protection of skin graft, corneas, blood vessels, and bones during storage and shipment. So honey is amazing. The Bulgarian study, 17,000 plus patients. Honey was effective in chronic bronchitis, asthma, bronchitis, bronchoasthma, chronic and allergic rhinitis, sinusitis. We're talking about something that's really good. Department of Pediatrics, Oncology at Children's Hospital at the University of Bonn regularly uses honey in the healing of wounds impaired by chemotherapy and has found it highly successful. 7 patients with MRSA infected wounds were treated with honey after antibiotics failed to eradicate the infection, and all were successfully treated. Chronic wounds that did not close over and heal in over 20 years. This is one patient. Can you imagine that long? A wound not healing, despite all treatments provided, healed in 15 weeks using a dressing impregnated with honey. So honey is a fantastic. All right, let's talk a little bit about flaxseed. I know we mentioned about it previously, but I think it's such an amazing healing food that I put it in with these herbs. Okay, so you can use the whole seed, it can be ground, you can use the oil. It's mucilaginous, has this sliminess about it, that's its taste. And the actions, the therapeutic actions are many. It's bulk forming, so helps with constipation. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water with it also. It stimulates immunity, its anti-tumor properties. Benefits menstrual cycle, women's health issues. The emulsant has a soothing effect, supports bone health, insulin sensitivity, lowers blood fats, lipids and cholesterol, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. So it should help with pain and inhibits platelet aggregation, so clotting. Improves mood disorders and may help with ADHD, high blood pressure, and kidney disease. So Here you see a plant that has multiple health benefits. So adding a tablespoon a day to your diet is something that, hey, can only benefit. And this is a prostate cancer study. Actually, 161 prostate cancer patients were scheduled for removing of the prostate. Usual diet plus flaxseed added in the experimental group, 30 grams a day, versus flaxseed supplement, low-fat diet. Tumors were assessed for rate of growth and death of prostate cancer cells. So they found cancer growth rates significantly lower among the men assigned the flaxseed arm. So you can see flaxseed was beneficial. Of course, these tumors were removed, but they saw this reduction in growth rate just by consuming flaxseed to the diet. So this is a good thing. Enlarged prostate, hyperplasia. So it affects the flow of urine and number of factors associated with benign prostate hyperplasia. Let's take a look. So they have flaxseed lignans. Lignans is one of the phytoestrogens or plant compounds in flaxseed that has these beneficial effects. So these lower urinary tract symptoms, LUTS, in 84 subjects with benign prostate hyperplasia over a 4-month period. So they gave them this extract, and you can see poor stream, hesitant intermittent flow, straining when passing urine, increased frequency, urgency, urinary incontinence, needing to get up to pass urine throughout the night. You see the normal prostate picture, and then you see the enlarged, and see how it affects this flow of urine. And so flaxseed actually help open up and help with all of these symptoms. So this is a good thing. This is another study talking about its benefit, moderate to severe and mild, and it increased the overall score, actually showing benefit, improved overall quality, comparable to this drug, alpha-1 adrenal receptor blockers, and 5 alpha reductase inhibitors. So its results were comparable to the medication for enlarged prostate. All right, breast cancer in women, patients with newly diagnosed breast cancer. They were given approximately 25 grams, is about 3 tablespoons plus a teaspoon in muffins every day. And what we saw, there were 2 cancer factors looked at, and there was cancer growth factors decreased 34% and 31%. And the death rate of cancer cells increased by 31%, okay? And so this is powerful. And a review, now what had happened is these were due for biopsy and treatment. So they were given this muffin, and over a period of time, then they looked at the cancer cells before and after. So good old flaxseed is something amazing. So there's no reason why it can't benefit individuals who have had treatment after. So I would encourage anyone to take, add flaxseed to your daily for prevention, as well as to enhance healing and recovery. Now, there have been a review of 10 flaxseed studies report significant decrease in risk of breast cancer, growth of breast cancer cells, and mortality in breast cancer survivors. So we see flaxseed is good all along, from prevention all the way to improving outcomes in women that have breast cancer. So something fantastic to have. So the lignans, these estrogenic type compounds, bind with estrogen receptors, and they block these activation of these hormones. And we know that these type of estrogens accelerate growth associated with breast cancer. So we have something in the flaxseed that blocks it and prevents that from happening. So you get the beneficial effects of these estrogens. And okay, the compound also increases the production of sex hormone globulin. It regulates estrogen levels, promotes excretion of excess estrogen from the body. So this is how these lignans help with these various cancers. Now, hypertension, 30 grams, 4 tablespoons a day. Placebo, 6 months, we saw significant decrease in blood pressure. And you can see here, I just looked and highlighted in orange, you see those that have the highest blood pressure. You see a 15 millimeters per level, 15-point drop in systolic blood pressure. That is the first number, the higher number, and 7 millimeter drop in the lower number. That's called diastolic. And this was comparable to drug trials. So this is one thing that individuals, if you have high blood pressure, you can up your flaxseed, 4 tablespoons. That could be, you can put it in a blender. You can use it as part of a smoothie. It can be sprinkled on food. It can be added to muffins. So it's a natural way of helping to relax those arteries and lower blood pressure. Of course, cardiovascular risk factors are lowered, cholesterol and all these types of things, lowered the total cholesterol, 12%, the LDL or bad cholesterol by 15%, and oxidized LDL, which is the worst, by 25%. Regular flaxseed tends to increase oxidized LDL. This is flaxseed with the, when you, this is without the, this is a type that is not the whole flaxseed. Okay, so you want to make sure you have the whole flaxseed is best, the fatted flaxseed. So what about fatty liver disease? This is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. You got this fat in the liver. You see that picture of the with the liver, and you see the background. You see those little, looks like little round white little blobs. That's actually the fat in the liver. This is not a good thing. And in this particular study, you can see after 12 weeks, there was a body weight, liver enzymes, insulin resistant, hepatic or liver fibrosis, excess buildup, abnormal buildup of fat in the cells, all decreased significantly. In the two groups that had, you had lifestyle modification or lifestyle modification plus the flaxseed, and you can see the milled or the ground flaxseed. The results were much greater in those who had the flaxseed. So fatty liver is something that we're seeing a lot more. And the real reason is, you're eating too much of these unhelpful fats, high levels of fat, and the body is, where do I put it? And it deposits it in the liver, deposits it in the muscles and all over the body. And so the solution is to probably not just have the flaxseed, but make an overall lifestyle change. Now, carpal tunnel syndrome. You can see a conservative treatment cannot reduce the symptom severity satisfactory. So what they did, they used linseed oil, and they rubbed the oil in that area, on the arm, the hand, this whole area. This is the Iranian study. And they use linseed oil for analgesic, for pain, inflammation. And 100 patients had mild to moderate carpal tunnel syndrome, these aches, these pains, and these joint-related issues related to, some say it's more to a lot of overuse, but you've got this median nerve, the nerve, you can see that little picture there is compromised, and that affects this, the whole tingling, numbness, weakness, and pain. So for 4 weeks, topical application of placebo, in addition to nighttime wrist splint, was provided, and both groups had their wrist splint. And so one had this particular oil, and the placebo did not have it. And as a result of that, you saw the symptoms decreased significantly. In fact, the median nerve was tested, and this is this nerve that runs right down the middle there. You can see in the picture there. After intervention, significant improvement was observed regarding this questionnaire, severity and functional status. And in fact, the speed at which the electricity was conducted through the median nerve was improved by just this linseed oil applications externally. My thought would be, in addition to applying it externally, taking the whole seeds ground internally should be also effective. Attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD. So we're looking at these deficiencies or imbalance in the highly unsaturated fatty acids that contribute to the common developmental disorders. So we're looking at the imbalance of these healthy fats. And we know that the flaxseed has these fats that are imbalanced. And so by consuming a higher intake of the flaxseed and not so much these highly processed diets with these unnatural fats that people tend to consume, and it's creating these imbalances that are part of the reason for these hyperactive disorders. So this study evaluated the effects of flax oil and vitamin C emulsions on the blood fatty acid composition and behavior in children. And there's a significant improvement in ADHD reflected by reducing in total hyperactive scores in children. This was oil and vitamin C emulsions that were used, but I would go back to my original, and I would encourage the utilization of the whole seed that's ground to get some tremendous benefit. So ADHD, fatty liver, enlarged prostate, you name it. Flaxseed is a game changer. Hot flashes in women, amazing. 40 grams, that's about 5 tablespoons. That's a significant amount of flax seeds to create that sort of effect. We need lots of water as a part of that. Hot seed flashes would decrease by 50%. All right. Contraindications, flaxseed well tolerated. Need to have sufficient water, 4 to 8 ounces of liquid for every tablespoon. Okay, so make sure you're getting plenty of liquid in this. Theoretical anticoagulant, antiplatelet, but hasn't been shown to have any effect. People are taking drugs that have this affecting the clotting factor, not like greens, which would be something you wanted to be careful of if you are on warfarin. Okay, flaxseed, anti-diabetic effect, fiber, impaired absorption of oral drugs. These are possible things, but most of your plant foods are going to have fiber in them anyway. You can take the drugs apart from foods that have, very high fiber intake. Okay. Okay, we're not going to go in there. Here are some dosage, and I think I gave you should have that in the handout. A tablespoon, 8 to 10 cups, preferably water a day, overall healthy intake. 2 to 3 days, increase to 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed. Continue this to add 2 to 4, and you can see the whole preparation. And I should have given you that for children, older children, etc. Recipes, egg substitute, flax, nuts, sprinkle. Recipe, it's easy. Even this recipe amount is maybe helpful for bipolar, patients with bipolar disorders. Very highs and very lows. Amazing how flaxseed has so many benefits. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about ginger. One of my has over 400 phytochemicals. It's against inflammation, bacteria, fungus, immune system, circulatory system, spasms, digestion, pain. It's amazing. Digestive system, nausea, morning sickness, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, morning sickness in women, painful menstruations, heavy menstrual bleeding. All of these are benefited. The nervous systems, common migraine headaches, dyspepsia, indigestion. 4 weeks, great benefit. 14 days, group showed a significant advantage, nausea, epigastric, pain in the upper, stomach area, bloating, all improved, safe, promising. And let's go back to how much they were taking, 2 capsules a day. And that was the amount. That's not a whole lot of ginger. So that's something that's helping. Common migraine headaches, 1/8 of a teaspoon. This was just powdered ginger, like you can get at the store, similar to the sumatriptan. This is a drug utilized for migraine headaches. So this is amazing. Patient satisfaction, effectiveness, comparable to the drug, better side effects profile than the drug. So that is something. 2 hours. Okay, 2 hours after using either the drug, mean headache severity decrease. So just taking it at the first sign. All right. Chronic knee and osteoarthritis. Another study, 30 days, compared with the anti-inflammatory drugs, and 15 subjects. Overall score, significant improvement in knee pain, just with chronic subjective pain. A review and meta-analysis of ginger and pain, 8 studies showed it is effectively good safety profile without kidney risks associated with the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and similar effectiveness. Painful menstruation, 4 capsules. So it's 4 times a day, 3 days from the start of the menstrual period. This is equivalent to 1 teaspoon of freshly grated ginger. That's what it's equivalent, and you see starting 3 days from the start of the menstrual period. So there is a non-drug alternative for painful menstruation. Other groups received 250 of 2 different drugs, not significant difference, and no severe side effects with the ginger. So this is a game changer. Heavy menstrual bleeding, 92 women. Decrease in blood loss in ginger receiving group is significantly more remarkable. All right, small adverse events. Considered an effective therapeutic option for heavy menstrual bleeding. Nausea and chemotherapy, effective 3 capsules twice daily for 6 days. Effective. All doses of ginger with significantly reduced acute nausea. So you're looking at 1/2 teaspoon. Not a lot for a great benefit. So different ways it can be decoction. We talked about that earlier. 4 to 5 slices of fresh root, half a teaspoon of dry cut roots to 8 ounces of water. Simmer for 10 minutes. And strain. Use 1 to 2 tablespoons in a cup 3 times a day. Travel sickness, 1 to 2 capsules before traveling and as needed just before. You can see tablets here. Ginger juice. You got a juicer, 5 carrots, half an inch of fresh ginger. Put a 3 a juicer. Antiviral effects are only present in fresh ginger. So make sure you have fresh gingers if you had some viral type condition. Caution with peptic ulcers, gallstones, with warfarin and pregnancy. Consume no more than 2 grams of dry ginger during pregnancy. Okay, garlic. Another wonderful plant, the whole plant. Antibacterial and hypocholesterolemia. It lowers cholesterol, lowers blood pressure, fights against worms and parasites, prevents clotting, antifungal, prebiotic. That means it feeds the healthy bacteria, feeds good bacteria. Beans, oats, and beets also can work like a probiotic. Wonderful, both sides. So these are good things. So respiratory infection, common cold, bronchial asthma, chronic bronchitis, chronic sinusitis, hay fever. So upper respiratory infection, digestive infections. So you've got worms, candida, peptic ulcers, helicobacter, viruses, and bacteria. Cardiovascular prevents blood clotting, arteriosclerosis, hypertension, lowers cholesterol, triglycerides. Amazing, good old garlic. So common cold, 12-week study, 146 individuals who giving a placebo or allicin-containing garlic supplements, 1 capsule a day. And fewer curls, 24 versus 64 in the control group. More days challenge all together, group the whole group, 366 versus 111. So symptoms didn't last as long, then they had fewer curls altogether. So this is looking at actually in China, they looked at prostate cancer and they looked at relationships between the alum family, and you can see the most effective was actually scallions, which was 70% less prostate cancer than those who consume, garlic and onion. But all 3 work good from low consumption to high consumption. So the more scallions and garlic and onions, the lower the risk of prostate cancer. This is just a short little study, 9 people. That's something they gave, high amount, 9, and you can see the diastolic blood pressure decrease. This is in 5 hours. They got a high dosage, 2,400 milligrams worth of garlic. It's probably about, 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. Garlic decreases platelet clotting. It decreases the thickness of the blood. It breaks up fibrin clots. So this is good for heart disease and people who have risk for clotting and all this sorts of things. This is a natural thing that helps to keep your blood thin. This is a good thing. So 11 studies looking at meta-analysis showed an average blood pressure dropping of 8.4 systolic and 7 diastolic. Not as significant as flaxseed, but does help. This is another looking at cholesterol and triglycerides. You see the drop 12 and average 27, up to 27 drop. The meta-analysis, you're looking at 600 to 900 milligrams of powdered garlic. Okay, it lowers LDL, oxidation by 33%, and it's the oxidized LDL that's the one that's really damaging in terms of heart attacks. Garlic decreased the risk of second heart attack by 50% after 2 years and 66% after 3 years. So lowering the risk of getting future heart attacks helps to keep the blood thin and clot-free. A meta-analysis, and this one included that 5 studies produced a 22.8 drop in total cholesterol. Meta-analysis in 1909 that includes 29 produced a 7-point drop. So another one in 2008 didn't find any significance. So you see some differences and discrepancies for different studies. And there are different preparations, different ways of doing it that may be part of the factor in that. But overall, you see some benefit in multiple things. So good old garlic is a good thing. Okay, so it can be freshly minced. All right, swallowed whole with water or juice for coughs, bronchitis, pneumonia, pinworms, parasites. All right, chopped it. You can make garlic juice, used on infected wound as a garlic for throat infections or as a poultice for warts. For topical applications, put a little oil on the surrounding skin first to prevent burning or blistering of the skin. Okay, so it can be really caustic if you apply garlic to your skin, so don't do that. If it's a wart or something you want to get rid of it, you put like I said, the oil on the good skin, and then you put a couple of drops there. All right, so that's a couple of preparations. Garlic honey, 6 slices of garlic, and add to 4 ounces of honey. Let stand for 7 to 10 days, and then now you've got this garlic-infused honey that you can use with colds, flu, sore throat, coughs, and sinusitis. And you got the benefit of both the garlic and the ginger and the honey. Garlic oil. Slice it, put it in oil, let that steep for a second. Now you've got garlic oil to be used, ear oil for ear-related infections, chest rub, or on wounds. See, it's amazing. Also salve. We talked about creating salves and what we can do for every 2 cups of oil is 2 ounces of grated beeswax vaccine. We told you already the amount you should have that. As after it melts, remove from the heat, you add it to the container, you add the drops of essential oils, and that is garlic. This is an entry-coated tablet, and we actually have this where I work at Bermuda Wellness and Outreach Center, so you can get it from us if you would like to. Dose 1 clove is equivalent to about 5,000 micrograms of allicin. And that's the active component in garlic. Discontinue 10 days before surgery. Caution if taking aspirin or warfarin. These are blood thinning medications. We have an additive factor in drugs designed to lower cholesterol and blood pressure. So be aware any times you apply these to be careful to watch those numbers. The additive effect could actually cause your numbers to be lower than they should be and create risk. Okay, so get guidance. You can connect with me if that's what you want to do. Okay, we are coming down to our end, and we haven't covered everything, but I believe you have a number of those. So let's just end with good old thyme. The whole cut or dry flowering aerial part, it's the part above the ground. It's expectorant, so coughs, antibacterial, fungals. It can increase redness in circulation and kills microbes, stops their growth. So this is another something that's good for microbes. Acute chronic bronchitis, whooping cough, asthma, all sorts of phlegm, inflammation, dyspepsia, impaired digestion, dysbiosis, imbalance, microbiome, biota. Remember we talked about the community that lives in us of bacteria and fungi and all these microbes. So it helps to balance things out for diarrhea, and GI tract issues. So thyme is wonderful. So externally, disorders can also be used in baths and creams and salves, hair oils we talked about already. 2 to 4 teaspoons in a cup of boiling water, 10 minutes. You can drink it. You can add honey to it if it's desired. Being that we're here, we're going to end with, why not nettle, just a couple more minutes. And all of us are familiar with stinging nettle. We see this around Bermuda. It shrinks or constricts body tissue. That's what's astringent. It's alterative. It restores normal health. It's a diuretic. It helps you to sweat. It's galactagar. It treats low milk supply. So it increases milk supply in women. Nutritive is full of nutrients. It's antiseptic. Tonic, invigorates, restores, refreshing. Anti-inflammatory, and you know what inflammation is? Antiseptic against germs. And so it can be used in anemia. 1 tablespoon of juice per day. So it's like it's juiced. Put it in a juicer, and you extract the juice out, and that will boost your iron levels. Several weeks for iron, tonic effect, and to heal the digestive tract after gastritis, diarrhea. Helps balance blood pressure, lowers blood sugar, helps restore kidney, bladder function. All these plants are amazing. Seasonal allergies, anti-inflammatory, pain, arthritis, gout, expectorant, respiratory, bronchitis, you name it. Good stuff. Eating nettle or drink the tea makes, some claimed it makes your hair brighter and thicker and shinier. Give it a go. It works for you. Great. Makes your skin clearer and healthier. And we've talked about that when we talked about this whole idea of these pigments, carotenoids that give your skin a healthy glow. And it's in all those green vegetables. They have been used to hair and scalp to prevent hair loss and dandruff. So in addition to honey, you've got good old nettle, as well as a lice treatment, and they've also been good for eczema and other skin conditions. Topical, we talked about that. You infuse it, use it in your cut and rash, bug bites. Infused, dried leaves, cup of water, 10 minutes, or can be juiced. Okay, so that's it. And you know what? I might as well do fennel. Fennel, the seed. Let's call it the seed. It's growing now. It's anti-inflammatory. It opens the bronchioles. It's relaxing, carminative, diuretic, galactagar, helps with milk, helps with mild laxative. Also relieve colic and gas, and mild laxative. Baby formula used for constipation, gas, nausea, and vomiting. Fennel, lemon balm, catnip, good for stomach cramps. Isn't that amazing? Preparation: 1 teaspoon of crushed ground seed to 8 ounces of boiling water. Cover and steep for 35 minutes. Use half to 1 cup 3 times a day. 1/4 to 3/4 spoons of the fresh dried fruit per day. Chew the fresh seeds to relieve indigestion, heartburn, gas, bad breath, etc. An extract has been used also. Caution in reflux. If you have gastroesophageal reflux, avoid ingestion. Pure almond fennel oil can cause nausea, breathing problems, and other problems. Remember, we talked about the essential oil, very high concentrated, so be careful with this sorts of thing. Colic, helpful. Infants, wonderful. 125 infants, 2 to 12 weeks of age, fennel seed oil emulsion. Okay, painful menstruation, believe it or not, fennel works. Girls have the fennel group versus the drug group. So they used 30 milligrams 4 times a day. Vaginal atrophy, which thinning and drying with age. 60 postmenopausal received the Plevil or phenol 5% cream. This was externally applied. Number of superficial cells increased significantly. pH decreased, so phenol is amazing. Well, that's it for today. I hope you found this informative, and it only lets us know the power that God has put into these plant foods, these whole plant foods that God has given us. And I tell you, this is where we want to go, back to these natural things that God has given us. And so thanks for tuning in. And let's close with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the amazing healing properties that you have put into the plant kingdom. Bless us all and keep us, and help us to apply that which we have learned to better ourselves and those with whom we connect with. In Jesus' name we pray and thank you. Amen.